Long story short, I brought my truck to JB Hunt. Don't bring your truck to JB Hunt. So, back in December, matter of fact, it was the first week of December, I left USA Truck, not because I had any real beef with USA Truck. They didn't do me wrong. I had some stuff that was going on. I was trying to streamline my revenue a little bit better. Called up JB Hunt to see if they had any good paying, dedicated type runs for owner operators. And they did. They had one that was essentially a coast to coast run. Paid about $10,000 round trip. Out for 9 days, home for 5 or whatever. Yeah, very flexible as far as once you did your round trip tour, you could stay home as long as you wanted or keep going or whatever. And it wasn't as much money as I could make on the load board, but for what me and my family were trying to get done and me being able to satisfy X amount of home time, it was a good fit. And I knew it was going to be a short run deal because I want to get back on a load board and take advantage of some sweet rates and, make some good money. I made the switch and I told them, I said before I switched over, I said, guys, I do not care anything about a new load board. I want this dedicated run very specifically. And the run itself was supposed to run out and come back literally 7 miles from my house is where the customer was. I mean, they sold me on the perfect fit. You understand? Perfect fit. Well, week 1, picked up a load, headed out west. Sweet load, 8,000 pounds in the box. Sweet run. I get there, and I feel real sorry for the guy, and I'm not knocking him at all. At JB Hunt, when you start on as an owner-operator, they put you on with like a temporary fleet manager or dispatcher or whatever. And for the first 4 to 6 weeks, in case it's like your first time running a load board, which I wasn't even running a load board, but for the first 4 to 6 weeks, you're with this guy or girl who has a smaller board, like 20 or 30 drivers, compared to the other guys that have like 70 or 80 drivers or whatever. So they can really kind of give you more one-on-one time. So he was great. He was great. Matter of fact, he's the only reason I didn't leave JB Hunt like my second week at JB Hunt, because he was the only one that seemed to give a damn. So, and his name was Chris, by the way. So if you do make the mistake of joining JB Hunt, you end up getting Chris as your temporary guy. Well, you'll have somebody that gives a damn for the first 4 to 6 weeks. But even with him in charge of the dispatching and whatnot, I get out to California, go west, drop my first load off, and it's supposed to be from North Carolina to Cali, back to North Carolina. That was the run. Matter of fact, I had to live within 165 miles of the customer in North Carolina. It was that specific, and I did. So I get out there, first thing he tells me, he says, boss, looks like the only load we got for you comes out of Cali, goes to Georgia. From Georgia, we get you up to Greensboro, North Carolina, and then we get you another load just outside of Charlotte. And I was like, okay, because I was going to do 2 round trips back to back. And so I said, well, this don't sound right. I know that you can't just ship me a load going right back to North Carolina, but I was under the impression that there was so much freight coming out of California going to North Carolina that there was no need for this running to Georgia and then kind of working me back in, right? He said, yeah, I thought the same thing. Well, fast forward, turns out he was told that we lost that customer. How convenient. Now, I'm not mad at him now. Like I said, he was told that we lost that customer that was going back to my hometown. He said, so going forward, it's going to have to be you getting into Georgia or getting into Virginia, and then us working you back to North Carolina. Well, I'm already in it, right? I'm already in it, and I'm stuck out in Cali right now. So he said, do you want this load? I'm like, yeah, I guess I got to take this load. Whatever, you know, it was okay, not that big a deal. But I get that load, I get back, drop the load in Georgia, and I said, I need a trailer. The place I dropped it had trailers, but a contract with JB Hunt, per their conversation with me, because their contract with JB Hunt says they don't have trailers leave that facility unless it's a loaded trailer. So I was like, I'll be damned. So we had to find me a trailer. I sat and waited for an hour and a half because I didn't know the customers. I didn't know where I could just go to on my own to find a trailer. So I had to find a trailer. I had to wait for them to find me a trailer. They sent me over to Walmart. I go into Walmart. I said, I need a trailer. They sent me over here to pick up trailer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it was. And I get there and they say, we don't give out trailers. We don't give out JB Hunt trailers. And they started preaching their contract. Our contract says, blah, blah, blah. And it sounds like to me, JB Hunt has pigeonholed themselves into a terrible situation where they are constantly making contracts with people where they get to hold their trailers hostage. So 3 hours later, I only had 26 miles to go to Deadhead, right? I had 26 miles to Deadhead to get the load going up to Greensboro. Well, 3 hours later, I come up with, I'm going to just bobtail in. And there's a note on the thing that said, don't bobtail out, which I thought was weird. So I call up nighttime dispatch, which we all know how that works. But I called up nighttime dispatch. Guy said, I said, buddy, I've been waiting for 3 hours trying to get a trailer. Have we come up with anything? He said, no. Right now, it's just me and another guy watching over 22,000 trucks. And he said, it's only going to get worse. Kind of laughed about it, and I said, only going to get worse? He said, yeah, it's only going to get worse. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? So I told him, I said, I'm just going to bobtail into the customer. Because I was literally I was sitting in a parking lot, bobtail, facing the warehouse I need to pick my load up from. So I did, grabbed the load, they let me get it, and I went. Next day, I went and picked up a load. I dropped that load, then I went, took my 10, had to wait, picked up my load up just outside of Charlotte. Went in there and I said, I'm here to pick up load 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it was. And guy says, he looked it up, keyed it in. He says, buddy, that looks like that load is in Utah. I said, do you mean it's just casually like passing through Utah, or like it's sitting in Utah waiting to be picked up? And he said, I don't know, I'm being told it's in Utah. So I called up dispatch. Poor Chris gets on the phone. He's having to apologize left, right, and center because of JB Hunt's mix-up or JB Hunt's communication issues with the other customers. And keep in mind, I've been on this load for 4 days or something like that, 5 days, how long it took. They had me on this load from the time I left Cali to come east, so they had plenty of time to sort out the bugs. So I said, hey, they're telling me the load's in Utah. He said, well, BT says, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. He said, we don't have anything else picking up for another 2 days, and that was going to put me not getting back home for Christmas, because I had everything lined up to where I'd have been able to go 2 runs back and forth and be home by Christmas. Not on that next load. So he says, let me call you back. So he calls me back and he says, best thing we could do is take you off this dedicated run put you on the load board and have you run that for 2 weeks. And after the first of the year, we'll settle back up. We'll get you back on that run, coast to coast. Everything should be leveled out nice and smooth. So I'm like, I don't know, brother. There ain't been a whole lot nice and smooth yet. That's not to even mention the disaster that they call orientation. And they're about 3 days there and didn't do but 5.5 hours worth of total engagement of work, be it yard moving and whatever. That's a whole nother story that maybe you'll hear me tell one day. So I just went home. There weren't no loads picking up that day or the next day to even get me home, so I just deadheaded home. Ran the load board for a couple of weeks during the holidays and blah, 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 blah. And I could go on and on about the mishaps and the obstacles that you'll run into with showing up somewhere and the load be canceled. And before you sit there and tell me, well, yeah, this happens, that's trucking. That's the business. If you can't handle that load canceling or information not being right, well, you need to get on out. Well, driver, it is more often than not that my loads are canceled. I got bad numbers. The load never existed. And it's a huge pain in the ass. Now, what prompted me to make this video is I went and picked up a load. Thank goodness it wasn't but about 8 miles away from where I park my truck every week. I get there, guy says, well, that load's already been picked up. It's on trailer 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or whatever, I said, so the load's already been picked up. So I secured this load 4 days ago on the load board, and the load's picked up. He said, we got 2 more loads coming out of here, going to the same place you're trying to go. The pickup numbers for them are, and he gave me the numbers. I reached out to whatever you want to call them, fleet managers, capacity coordinators, everybody's got their own name. And I told them the numbers. They come back and said, I'm being told those numbers are not good numbers. I was like, okay. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had essentially 5 days worth of work planned from my pickup on Monday to my last drop on Saturday. I had five runs, and they were decent runs. It was a good week. But what happens? Well, I now have to go back to the drawing board, because instead of me running up north out to the Midwest, now the best load I could find where I'm at right now takes me right out to the Midwest, and all those other loads are pretty much null and void. So really, to land my plane here on this point, what I'm trying to get across is, I know that no matter where you go, because it happened at USA Truck, you're going to have canceled loads. You're going to have issues that come up that are out of your control, and some of them that are out of the carrier's control. And you can't be mad at them for something they can't help. But with JB Hunt, I can tell you unequivocally, it has been a consistent disaster. I can't even give them the credit to say every other load has been a decent load, because almost every load I'm on the struggle bus trying to get proper information, having to get appointments changed, it's almost like JB. Oh, and not to mention, if a load cancels that you have on your load set, if a load cancels, nobody tells you about it. If you currently contract your truck to JB Hunt and you are having none of these issues, then good on you. But I'm telling you, guys, I grade all this stuff on a curve. It's not too terribly often that I get on here and I just run my mouth and just talk trash. But it's almost as if JB Hunt accidentally got as big as they are. I mean, If you just see the intermodal units and the freight coming in and out on trains, if you just look at the next train you see goes by that has intermodal units, I can about guarantee you beyond north of 50% of those units that are on that train is going to have a JB Hunt logo on it. They're moving freight. They got freight everywhere. The fact that they don't have the freight when I need it is what frustrates me the most. When I go somewhere to pick up a load, and more often than not, that load is canceled, non-existent, whatever the case may be, that's unacceptable. And nobody cares. And I don't need somebody to hold me and tell me everything's going to be all right. But nobody's held accountable. Now, we as drivers, we're held accountable for every damn thing we do or don't do, right? But you run into stuff like this, and a carrier can just come and go as they please. Well, BT, why don't you just go get your own authority, and then you can just do what you want? Well, don't think it ain't crossed my mind, friends and neighbors. Don't think it ain't crossed my mind. But right now, I am where I am, and I did okay. I did okay at USA Truck. So I'm not saying that USA Truck did me wrong is why I left. I'm not saying that they were perfect is why I should have stayed. But if you're thinking about going to JB Hunt, prepare yourself for an avalanche of bullshit on the regular. And that's all I got to say about that. Until next time, drive on, driver. Y'all stay safe out there.